It's 0420 local time, the 13th of October 2025. The South China Sea is quiet until it isn't. USS Dewey, DDG-105, suddenly picks up multiple unknown tracks closing fast on Second Thomas Shoal. Alarms erupt through the ship. Sailors rush to stations, pulling on gear, sealing hatches. On radar, two Chinese Coast Guard ships, Haijing 5203 and 5305, are pushing toward a Filipino supply convoy. Outside, searchlights sweep across dark waves. The radio crackles. Contact, collision imminent. Within seconds, water cannons blast through the night, slamming into BRP Teresa Magbanua. The Filipino crew scrambles to keep control as the smaller Uniza May 1 lifts hard to port. From above, a U.S. Navy paid Ampere circles, its sensors tracking every move. On Dewey's bridge, the commander's voice cuts sharp through the noise. Hold position. Stand by for electronic countermeasures. What happens next could ignite the region or stop a war before it starts. The flashpoint isn't new. Second Thomas Shoal, a half-submerged reef claimed by both China and the Philippines, has been tense for years. Manila keeps a small outpost there, supplied by wooden boats under Navy escort. Each trip is risky. Every run faces Chinese ships trying to block or flood them off course. Nearby, Bitu Island serves as the Philippines' forward base and only safe runway when seas turn hostile. For Washington, this patch of sea is more than sand and coral. It's a test of credibility. Two U.S. destroyers, USS Dewey and USS Ralph Johnson, shadow the convoy from beyond the horizon, enforcing the promise that no ally stands alone. Above, a Pate Ampere's Poseidon scans for radar bursts and surface tracks, feeding data to the 7th Fleet. One wrong move could bring superpowers face to face within sight of a fishing boat. Beijing's goal is simple: push the Philippines back and make the U.S. hesitate. But this time, the Americans don't blink. Inside Dewey, electronic warfare teams activate jammers, clouding Chinese radar and comms. The interference buys seconds that keep ships apart and tempers below the breaking point. On the Filipino bridge, BRP Teresa Magbanua steadies course while Uniza May 1 and ML Calayan Nurse cracked rails and flooded decks. They keep moving because stopping means surrendering the shoal by default. Out here, presence is power. Beyond the reef, shipping lanes pulse with tankers and cargo ships. If this route turns unsafe, prices rise and alliances shake. That's why the 7th Fleet's plan, Freedom Wave 25, quietly unfolds. Layered escorts, constant surveillance, firm restraint. The waves gleam under hard white light. The Philippines holds, the U.S. stands firm. The world watches, waiting for someone to flinch first. If you were on that deck tonight, comment 1 to stand firm or 9 to retreat. 0435 local time. The night air hums with tension. Haijing 5203 makes the first move, cutting sharply across the bow of BRP Teresa Magbanua. The Filipino captain yells orders, engines reverse, rudder, hard, starboard, but the wave impact still slams into the hull. Sparks shower as metal scrapes metal. Over open radio, Chinese loudspeakers bark warnings in clipped Mandarin. The reply from Manila is calm but firm. We are operating in Philippine waters. On USS Dewey, the combat systems officer tracks every maneuver. Range, 3 miles. They're pushing hard. The commander gives a nod. Activate non-kinetic suite. Within seconds, the ship's electronic warfare pod hums alive. Across the water, Chinese radar screens flicker then blur. The interference isn't an attack but a message: we see you. Back off. To the west, USS Ralph Johnson moves into position, its Aegis radar covering the entire shoal. From above, the Pate Ampere's Poseidon relays, live video searchlights, hulls colliding, water cannons still blasting. In a separate feed, USS America, LHA-6, readies 2 MV-22 on standby, their rotors spinning slow, like a warning heartbeat. The Philippine boats regroup, holding a loose triangle around the shoal. Uniza May 1 takes a hit from another burst of water pressure, nearly toppling crates and crew overboard. But they stay in formation, "Keep filming," the captain says. "The world needs to see this." Then, a flare arcs into the sky, a Chinese signal for cease maneuver. The light fades over the Black Sea, its reflection dancing across hulls, but neither side moves away. Inside Dewey, the watchstanders glance at the clock. One wrong frequency, one misread tone, and this standoff becomes a firefight. The 7th Fleet's tactical net comes alive with calm, measured voices. "Maintain posture. No first fire. Shield Allied assets." For 30 long minutes, the two forces stare each other down across waves that could turn deadly any second. The U.S. destroyers stay steady, silent, ready. The Philippines refuses to yield. And Beijing's captains, blinded by jamming, must guess whether they're already locked by targeting radar. Out here, hesitation can kill, but overreaction can start a war. The horizon glows faintly with approaching dawn. The next move will decide who owns this moment. 05:05 local time. The calm before sunrise vanishes. 3 new radar contacts flash on Dewey's screen. Larger hulls, moving fast. Haijing 5000, 203 and 5305 are now joined by 2 militia trawlers and a shadowy silhouette farther north. The Chinese formation spreads wide, boxing in the Philippine boats near the shoal. Multiple vessels closing, bearing 085, the censor chief reports. On open channels, Chinese voices warn of illegal occupation. Moments later, 2 UAV sweep in low lights, blinking red. The 8 Ampere's Poseidon tilts to follow, capturing every move before vanishing into clouds. Inside Dewey, tension climbs. Electronic warfare systems are stretched thin, countering new frequencies. Every minute the crew swaps jamming patterns, keeping Chinese sensors from locking on. "We're holding them blind," the technician mutters. For now, the sea turns into a chessboard. On one side, Chinese hulls, heavy and confident, forcing the line closer. On the other, a handful of Filipino vessels, battered but steady, guarded by 2 silent U.S. destroyers. Haijing 5000, 305 surges forward, forcing Unaiza May 1 to veer sharply. Metal shrieks, ropes snap. For a second, it looks like impact. On Dewey's bridge, officers freeze. The commander cuts in. "Maintain distance, no fire." The order spreads across comms. Engines roar down, cameras roll. In Washington and Beijing, feeds light up with the same image ships just meters apart. Across the shoal, USS Ralph Johnson shifts position to shield the convoy. An MH-60R readies on Dewey's deck, rescue team poised. Loud hailers repeat rules of engagement in English and Chinese. The 8 Ampere's tracks militia hulls spoofing signals. Their blips fade into static. Farther out, USS America, LHA-6, drifts upwind. Deck crews under red lights, aircraft chained but ready. A fresh EW pulse buzzes, targeting returns. Militia bows hesitate, edging off by degrees. The swell rises, hulls heave, and every wheel turn feels like rolling dice. The horizon glows gold as the first sun hits the waves. Chinese engines rumble. Filipino crews stand soaked but unyielding. The Americans stay silent, radar locked, weapons cold. For a long breath, no one moves. The ocean holds its silence, waiting for one side to blink. If you think holding the line is strength, press 1. If you think one wrong move risks it all, press 9. 0545 local time. The uneasy silence shatters as new radar contacts appear. 6 fast, erratic blips emerge from behind the Chinese line. No transponder, no ID. Unknown drones inbound, the operator reports. Speed 60 knots. The commander leans forward. "Surface skimmers," he mutters. "Too low for radar lock. They're modified fishing drones, cheap, remote-controlled hulls with lights and radar reflectors. Not weapons, but bait meant to provoke a U.S. response that Beijing can twist into proof of aggression. Hold fire," the captain orders. The drones weave through the waves, closing in on the Philippine boats. One bursts into spray 20 meters from Unaiza May 1. Harmless, but on camera, it looks like an explosion. Across the sea, Chinese loudspeakers roar. U.S. ships are interfering with law enforcement operations. The words echo in 2 languages, perfectly timed for propaganda drones above. Beijing isn't fighting for ground, it's fighting for the story. On Dewey's Bridge, warning lights flare white sensor overload. "They're flooding the band," says the EW officer. "We're blind." The commander stays calm. Deploy decoy beacon. A pod fires off the stern, scattering coded noise. Slowly radar stabilizes. False echoes fade. On deck, sailors shield their eyes as a red flare bursts overhead, staining the waves crimson. For 30 seconds, the sea glows like fire. No one moves. The Pate Ampere's Poseidon circles once more, recording everything: the blinding light, the false attacks, the restraint that kept fingers off triggers. The tension doesn't break, it hardens. By dawn, both fleets understand. The real weapon tonight wasn't steel or fire, it was control. 0610 local time. The horizon burns orange, the sea reflecting fire. Then it happens. Haijing 5000, 203 lunges forward, ramming speed. Its bow cuts the water like a blade, aiming straight for BRP Teresa Magbanua. The Filipino captain shouts orders. Engines full, hard to port, but the old hull is too slow. Impact feels inevitable. From the US destroyer, everything unfolds in seconds. Collision course confirmed, the watch officer calls. The Dewey's commander doesn't hesitate. Deploy signal shield now. Within seconds, a burst of electromagnetic static erupts from the destroyer's antenna arrays. The interference blinds every Chinese navigation radar in range. Through binoculars, the crews watch Haijing 5203 swerve off at the last moment, water exploding off its bow. The gap closes to less than 20 meters, too close for comfort, but far enough to avoid catastrophe. The Magbanua lists, battered but afloat. Then another sound, a deep hum rising beneath the waves. USS Ralph Johnson detects a sonar ping, faint but deliberate. Submarine contact possible, plan unit. The bridge goes silent. Nobody knows if it's a bluff or a warning. For a heartbeat, everyone freezes. In that silence, one spark could end it all. The commander exhales, slow but steady. Hold the line. No weapons. Let them blink first. Above, the Pate Ampere's Poseidon dives low for confirmation. Cameras capture the chaotic ballet jets of water, smoke from engines, the tight formation holding its ground. It's the kind of footage that will replay on every screen tonight. Calm against chaos. On Dewey's deck, line handlers stand by with fenders and tow lines. Damage control teams, stage pumps, and patch kits by the rails. An MH-60R idles with doors open. Rescue swimmer kneeling, gloved hands on the frame. Sailors tuck ROE cards into pockets as the PA repeats. No first fire. Protect Allied hulls. Every movement is deliberate, every breath measured. The Chinese ships begin to drift back, not retreating, but regrouping. Their loudspeakers fall silent. The 7th Fleet net confirms it. No further aggression. Slowly, the US formation eases into holding pattern. The first crisis of Freedom Wave 25 has passed, but the next one is already waiting beyond the horizon. If you were the one in command, would you keep your finger off the trigger or press it first? Comment 1 for control, 9 for fire. 0715 local time. The South China Sea lies still again. The adrenaline gone, but the tension unbroken. Waves roll through the smoke and churned wake. BRP Teresa Magbanua drifts slowly toward the shoal, escorted by Unaiza May 1 and ML Calayan. Above, a helicopter from USS Dewey hovers, lowering supplies and a medic. There's no cheering, just exhaustion and silence. In Manila, the president's message goes live. Our ship stood their ground. We will not yield. Across the Pacific, Washington calls it a professional act of restraint. Beijing, meanwhile, releases its own footage carefully edited, voices distorted to claim victory in defending sovereignty. The battle for the narrative has only begun. Within hours, the 7th Fleet activates Operation Freedom Wave 25, a quiet but sweeping move. Carrier strike groups shift south. Submarines reposition along choke points. Electronic patrols expand toward the Paracels and Spratlys. No one fires a shot, but the message is unmistakable. The US isn't backing down. At the same time, global markets twitch. Shipping insurers double rates overnight. Allies in Tokyo, Canberra, and Hanoi issue statements of support. Across social feeds, one question spreads faster than any official line. How long before the next encounter turns hot? On USS America, sailors gather on deck, watching the horizon where the sun breaks over calm water. They've won without firing, but nobody feels safe. The ocean looks peaceful, but it's only the surface. Every radar pulse, every coded ping carries the echo of what almost happened. Freedom of navigation remains for now. The Philippines has proof it held the line. The US shows it still answers the call. But the sea remembers, and so does every ship still out there, waiting. If you think this calm will last, press 1. If you think this is just the beginning, press 9.